Previously on Ex-Wives Undercover.
I start asking questions that I now know the truth to. He continues to boldface lie to my face. If you had been able to have a kid, if you'd had a daughter, did you ever think about what you would have named her? And I remember him snapping his head around and looking at me and he says, "What kind of game are you playing?"
He states how he kind of fell into this mediumship career, and it was a call, and he was a New York police officer.
Richard Ruland is a former police officer from New York who migrated south. He's a staple in the paranormal community.
Now, there's a lot of controversy surrounding that statement. They have not heard of him ever.
He told me that he had responded to a domestic call, that a female was getting the living daylights beat out of her, and when he turned to face her, that she shot him. So while he was in the hospital, I intentionally looked. "Hey, where's that scar from your gunshot wound?" That's when all of the truths began to come out and the mask began to unravel.
Welcome to Ex-Wives Undercover.
Liars, cheaters, and love cons.
I'm Amber.
And I'm Athena.
First we told our story, and now we're sharing all of your craziest and most heart-wrenching stories of love gone wrong. Sometimes we laugh,
And sometimes we cry.
but more importantly,
We stand together. All right, girl. You ready to do this?
let's do it.
The views, information, or opinions expressed on our show by our guests are solely the views of those individuals involved and by no means represent absolute facts. Opinions expressed by the host and guests may change at any time. Our podcast and YouTube show may at times cover sensitive topics, including but not limited to suicide, abuse, violence. Listener and viewer discretion is advised. Season 6, Episode 3 of Lori's Story, Ghosted.
So we had actually planned this trip, I want to say in December or January, and Richard was really angry about that too because he was not included in that trip either. So you can see I had started making moves towards kind of cutting him out of things, even to the point where my friends, they started noticing after the whole Tampa ordeal, my social media, I wasn't posting pictures of us together. Very rarely were there pictures of him there, or if there were, they were by himself, because I was kind of trying to make that move. My son had called and said, "Hey, Mom, we want to take the girls to Disney." My son was like, "We really can't afford to go unless you're going to split the room with us this time." And I was like, you know what? That's perfect. It's win-win. It was my newest grandbaby's first trip to Disney, and we booked it and we paid a little on it every month. I picked up a second job, a remote job, doing some content writing for AI online. And that's how I paid for that trip. So it wasn't even coming out of my regular payroll. He kept saying, like several weeks before my trip, he kept saying, "I just want you to go on this trip and I hope you have a really good time." And I should have clued in then that something was about to go down, but he was always talking in circles, always starting arguments, always causing problems. I was always the problem. I was mentally ill. I was crazy. I was bipolar. So it's time for me to go on the trip. The day that I am supposed to leave, I text him when I'm getting ready to leave work. "Hey, haven't heard from you. Did you close that last deal you were supposed to get today?" Because he was back out doing merchant sales and he's not responding. And because he drives around, he's in my car. I'm thinking, has he been in an accident? Is something wrong? He's not responding. I pull up in my driveway. My car is in the driveway. And I go in the house and he's not there. And I'm thinking, what in the world? I go to the car. The keys are there. The phone that I pay for is there. There's no note. There's the car key, the phone. That's it. He's gone. So I go in, I open the closet. Now he has left, like, his hats and things that hang on the wall are there. He left his Crocs, his clothing and stuff. He left them in the dirty clothes. Like he chose to take some things and other things he left. He left his insulin in the refrigerator because he didn't need it anymore, but he took his metformin. He took my glucose machine that I paid for. Yes, he had been using it, but he didn't pay for that. He took bits and pieces of his clothes. He had time to dump out one of my big Rubbermaid tubs that held like all of my rubber tubing equipment and stuff, dumps it out and steals it to take things with him. Takes all of the paranormal equipment, which had my spirit box. He bought that for me for Christmas on my credit card and never paid the bill. The brand new noise canceling headphones that I had purchased on our last paranormal investigation, he took those. Took my dowsing rods that he ordered on my Amazon account, paid for with my money, took those, took a rim candle I paid for. Like, so paranormal equipment that was his and paranormal equipment that was mine, he took it all. I believe he's been selling it. I posted up a picture where he tried to sell it on Facebook, and everybody went on there and commented, "This is stolen, don't buy it." I'm pretty sure he's sold it on eBay, because I saw a deposit come in on the bank account from eBay for about $100. I'm guessing that was probably my spirit box. So yeah, I'm pretty ticked about all of that. But of course, he had to pick and choose. He took things that he knew he could sell. My Samsung Galaxy watch gone. Took the phone, or left the phone, took the watch. So there's lots of things that were missing, but he had to make it look good, right? Because he told my eldest son that I threatened to shoot him in the head if he didn't bring home another deal, which none of that happened. And Amber, I don't know if you had that conversation with Logan. He was home that morning and he's like, "Mom, that didn't happen." We even made a video and put it on TikTok where he's like, "Yeah, that wasn't a thing." So yeah, but he had to make it look good for his new supply where he went to sleep on their couch and make it believable, you know.
Okay. I was wondering why he left the phone. You think he would have taken that too, but is that another ploy just to like look like he was being nice and maybe you wouldn't notice that the watch was gone?
Maybe. With the phone, I pay the phone bill, but it's in someone else's name, another family member. So I think he knew if he took that phone, it wasn't considered marital property, but that watch is on that account too.
Well, or maybe it's because he was already moving on to somebody else and he was afraid that you'd be able to monitor his texts and phone calls and see who his
Maybe.
next
Now I
victim
do know that
was.
he took he got a Boost mobile phone. I know that he did that. I had $100 coming back from the post office for a package, insurance on a package that got lost, and that got claimed, and that was $100, and the Boost mobile phone was $100. So I'm pretty sure that I can't prove it, but I'm pretty sure that's where that money went.
Yeah. So, how are you feeling when you walk in and you see that he's packed up these things and he's gone? Is it a range of emotions? Are you crying? Are you just devastated? Are
Well,
you only angry?
I'm relieved he's gone. Like that I'm like, hallelujah, he's gone. But then I'm angry because I'm like, this MFer just screwed me over. I mean, that's literally the thought that went through my head. But then a panic sets in because I start to realize, call the car insurance company. The bank account, I look at the bank account, it's cleaned out. Where am I going to get the money to put car insurance on? Call the water company, the following Monday, because this is on Friday afternoon and it's too late to call anybody by the time I get in. And so then by Monday, the water's turned off. So a family member, the same one that he stole the money orders from, she goes ahead and sends enough money to get the car insurance back, get the water back on, get the gas back on, do all the things that needed to be done to at least get it to where we can live. I had earned some money doing that other job I was telling you about and had it paid through PayPal, and he didn't have access to that. So that was the money I had with me at Disney because we had paid for the dining plan and everything, but gratuities weren't covered. I had told my children I would split the gas with them. I always buy the grandbabies a souvenir. So there were things like that I had to have money for. Right. And I went to Disney with $300 in my pocket.
All of this has happened. You're seeing the accounts drained. Obviously, you're like, oh, hell no, you need to get a hold of Richard. But his phone's there, so what's your go-to to try to track him down?
First thing I do is call the cops. That was the first thing I did because my things were missing. My watch is missing. The keys to my safe appear to be missing, which we did end up finding the keys to the safe. And the only thing he had removed from the safe was his birth certificate, which is fine. He can have that. Don't care, not mine. called the police and told them he's stolen this. He has been physically abusive. And that's where I start finding out that, not going to be able to get any help from them. The last time I spoke to them, they told me he's under investigation, but that's it. So I do reach out to another member of the Haunted Travelers team, and they responded and said, he's not with us. We're sorry this is happening. He's not here. I reach out to the former member, and I have a text message, and she's like, well, you both unfriended me, and he's not with us. That's exactly where he is. I happened upon him, and that's exactly where he is. So she bold-faced lied because she believes all of his lies, and he's going to end up doing to them what he's done to me or worse. And I hate that for them. I tried to warn them. I went online and noticed that his niece, Danielle, had unfriended me on Facebook. And I was like, maybe she helped him get the phone. This is before I see the $100 and everything for the phone. So I messaged her, and she immediately responds, and she's like, no. She said, I unfriended him today because I didn't want his BS and his drama. She said, so she re-adds me and everything on Facebook, and we get on the phone together. And then she ends up reaching out to Richard's ex-wife, Melissa, who reaches out to another ex-wife, and then I reach out to another ex-wife. So when I got Melissa's number and I was going to call her, I was not nervous. I think I was more excited to know that she was willing to support me and have my back and to help expose or bring to light what he has done. And so I was excited. I didn't quite know what to expect. We've become really good friends now, and we talk about a whole lot more than his stupid self. So when I called her, she picks up right away. I just said, hey, this is Lori. And I was like, hey, girl, thank you so much. Thank you for having my back. Thank you for being willing to support me. And we just started talking about just like, hey, this is what happened. Let me walk you through. Here's what he's done. And she's telling me, I'm so sorry. And this is when she starts telling me, I thought from the Facebook videos, from everything I was seeing, I thought he had changed, y'all's posts. She's like, I can tell that you're a good person. You have a really good heart. And she said, I am so effing pissed that he has done this to you. She said, it's time to put a stop to it. She's like, it doesn't need to happen anymore. She said, he does not know what he has unleashed. She's like, he woke me up and he has messed up. She has come out full force. I don't know if you saw the video where she found out something that he said to her daughter years ago.
Yes, I did see that. Yeah, she was I don't even know what word could describe that. It's beyond the word pissed.
Yes.
She's fuming.
Yes, she is. And she intends to have a conversation with him. It will happen.
I can tell. Now let's move into Melissa, Richard Ruland's third wife.
We met in 1996 in Tennessee. I'm originally from Tennessee. How he ended up in Tennessee, the story, I have no idea. I've heard several versions, but he was in Tennessee. We met through an online board that a friend of mine had created. It was called the BBW Bells board. And it was folks that were a little on the heavy side. We all kind of got together and kind of just joking, cutting up, just sort of like what TikTok is now, but a whole lot smaller. And we got married in May of 1997.
Before he proposed to you, what was your take on him? How could you describe Richard?
It's really crazy. I mean, he was honestly so sweet, so gentlemanly. I mean, I never, even when we weren't getting along, I never opened my own car door, anything like that. He was always very gentlemanly. The main thing, he made me laugh. I'd been through a lot, and he came along. He reminded me of a younger John Goodman, and that, he made me laugh. That's what he looked like back then. He actually looked a lot like John Goodman. But yeah, I mean, sweet, funny, very attentive. I got very, very sick early in our relationship, and he took great care of me. I mean, he was looking out for me. I know now that I was being groomed, but back then, I mean, it was exactly what I needed at the time. And I think he realized that.
Absolutely. Did you see any red flags before the marriage?
No, not really. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, yeah, everybody has their moments, and things like that, but never. I mean, he was working, he was kind, he was sweet, he was good to my daughter. I finally, in the beginning, I did not want him to meet my daughter, and I did not want to meet his daughter, but because I wanted to get to know him before I allowed that to happen. And then when I did let him meet my daughter, he was very good to her. He was very sweet and kind to her. When I met her, he was very good to her, very attentive. She loved him. She did not show me that there was like any fear or any hesitation being around him, anything like that. I mean, my parents, he got along with my parents. He treated them very well. So there was really nothing, no red flags.
Next, I asked Melissa about her knowledge of Richard Ruland ever being a New York police officer. I mean, can you blame me? I'm very curious to see the version of story that he actually gives to her because, there have been a handful of them. Now, at this point, when you do initially meet him, is he already claiming to be a retired New York police officer?
That did not come up immediately. He told me, now he did tell me he used to work on the fishing boats in New York. He never told me he was a captain of one. He told me he was a mate, and that he helped out on the fishing boats and stuff like that. He told me that he had been into wrestling, that he had delved into professional wrestling.
Oh.
He did not he did not say he was a cop at first. And then later on, he did come up and say that he did work for the police department, but he never told me, like, I know he gave Lori, like, the name of a particular police department and things like that. He gave her a whole line of, stories and things like that, but I never got that. I never got those stories.
So you mentioned he told you he worked on the fishing boats, but that he wasn't the captain of the fishing boat. Is that because later you would hear stories from the other women where he's claiming to have been a captain, or the stories changed? Is that why?
Yes, I found that out later from the other ladies. He changed those stories. He embellished them up as the years went on.
Okay. So from what you knew at that point, previously dabbled in pro wrestling, worked on the fishing boats while you were together during your marriage. What was his career then?
At first, he was working for restaurants. He was doing restaurant management. He did have a brief stint with a company called Cardinal Health. He worked there for a little bit, but mostly restaurant work when we were together. He also was doing security. We were both doing private security.
That's right.
So he did work in security. He was not armed or anything like that. We worked for a company doing event security, like for concerts and things like that. He started getting to where he couldn't keep a job. It was, he'd have one for a little bit, then not, then have one for a little bit, then not. Now, the security thing stayed pretty steady, but it wasn't like a full-time job. We didn't do those gigs every day and 8 hours a day. It wasn't like a normal income. That was basically like a supplemental income.
Yeah.
Because with me, I had been, I was working and things all the time. I never was not working. So, for me, it got very frustrating being the primary breadwinner.
Mm-hmm.
And he was always trying to use what money we had for whatever. I mean, a lot of times he was saying it was for child support. Come to find out, he wasn't actually paying that child support. He always wanted to waste money. He took money and bought this stupid boat, and then come to find out this little boat had a hole in it. And at the time, we jokingly called it Hope It Floats, because you literally hoped it floated. So I mean, just, it started to be little things at first, and then he started to get very demanding, very controlling. He would accuse me of various things. He would say that I was lying about this, lying about that. Then he got to where he was accusing me of cheating and things like that. And I'm like, I would love to know when I have time to cheat, because I'm working 2 jobs and trying to raise our children.
Right.
So, but, things like that, it started going downhill.
Okay.
And so when I started realizing lies and things like that. And so instead of just immediately reacting. I'm a lot smarter than he is. So I started putting a plan together on making sure that I had my ducks in a row before I reacted. So I made sure that I had secured a place for me and my daughter to live. I made sure that, I had my bills where I could handle them, which, I mean, I was already handling them. I don't know what I was thinking by that. But anyway, I just wanted to make sure I had my ducks in a row. And then we were getting ready to go to work one day. We had a security gig, and I had already told the girl who scheduled us, I had already told her, I said, please stop putting me at all the same events as him. I said, if you put me at the same event, I said, at least schedule me in a different area. So, because there was a lot of things going on with that behind the scenes as well. So one day we were lacing up our boots, getting ready to walk out the door to go to an event. And I looked at him and I said, do you want to be married anymore? And he said, well, yeah, of course, don't you? And I just simply looked at him and said, nope. And if you want to go to work, get your ass in the car and let's go. And I walked out the front door.
So was it just an accumulation of catching him in just odd lies, the financial stress all the time? You couldn't depend on him. I know personally, you start to feel very disrespected when they can't not just equally financially contribute, but it's that plus so much more. It's like, they don't think ahead. They just put so much of a heavy load on you. And they're supposed to be your partner.
It's very hard to put into words. It is hard to put into words.
Yeah.
I think the final straw with me, what finally did it for me, the last cruise that we went on kind of like a last ditch save the marriage kind of thing. And I was miserable. I had never been on a cruise that I was miserable in my life. I was absolutely miserable. I slept that entire cruise just so I didn't have to spend time with him.
Why were you miserable?
His company, he made me sick. It was to the point to where just looking at him made me sick, because I knew the lies. I knew the BS. I knew that I couldn't believe anything that came out of his mouth anymore. He wanted nothing to do with me as far as in a physical relationship anymore. He basically called me a whore for wanting to be with my own husband. Yeah, and that was the straw that broke. Yeah, that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Okay.
And I told him, I thought, okay, as men get older, there's issues that maybe they don't want to talk about. They're embarrassed talking about it. I told him, I said, look, if you're not attracted to me anymore, just say that. Right. I said, just be honest and tell me that. I said, I can handle that better than I can being treated the way you're treating me. And I said, or if there's a problem, I said, if we need to go see a doctor, that's okay. I said, just be honest and tell me what's going on. And I never will forget, I was sound asleep, and I rolled over and rolled over in the night, and I kind of moved my arm. When I moved my arm, I just kind of laid it over him. I wasn't doing anything. I was sound asleep. Literally grabs my arm, throws it off of him, and pushes me to the point where almost rolled me completely back over, and was like, I really wish you'd stop being a whore.
Okay, there's some psychological issues there. He's got some type of weird trauma,
and woke me up out of a sound sleep. And I'm like, what are you even talking about? What happened? And he's like, you rolling over in the middle of the night trying to start something. I said, I was asleep.
How dare you, Melissa?
I know, right?
How dare you, as his wife, touch him with your hand on accident? I mean,
and
it wasn't.
It was bad. I mean, it was bad.
Give him a hug, give him a kiss. He should be grateful and thankful.
We did not have any physical relationship for at least the last 2 years of our marriage.
How long was the marriage? How many years?
About 9. Let's see. We married in May of 97. I divorced him in 2000. Hang on, let me think. 2006, I think, is when it was final. 2006. We were together about a year before the marriage.
What other lies was there? I mean, you said there was like a few financial things, right?
He was constantly trying to cause problems between me and his first wife, the mother of his child. He was always trying to start problems between she and I, because he wanted us to hate each other, because he was so afraid she was going to tell me the truth. Or
have you heard my story with Amber yet?
No, I've heard bits and pieces of it. I've heard bits and pieces.
That's what he did to us.
Yeah.
I mean, fake documents, fake messages and emails to make
Yeah.
me look horrible. And then he'd feed me horrible stuff to make us hate each other. It was.
When we would go to drop her off, we would meet at a store that was like a couple of miles from her house. And I mean, this was cold. This was middle of winter. And I told him, I said, let's just take the baby home. I said, there's no sense in having to get her out twice in this cold. Let's just take her home. You get her out once she goes in. She doesn't want you at her house. And come to find out, I mean, Kelly and I are friends now. We tell each other, we know, come to find out, he was telling her I didn't want to come to her house.
Yeah.
That I didn't want to bring the baby there. That I wanted her to have to come and meet us. See, everything he did, he was playing it.
Yes.
So that, and see, Kelly would be trying to get child support, and I would literally put back the child support for it to be paid. He wasn't paying it. And then she would call, and every now and then she would manage to get me on the phone. And then she and I would get in a fight because she's like, well, I want to see your tax returns and all this. And I'm like, look, you're over my dead body. Are you getting my tax returns?
Right.
He wanted to keep us at odds with each other.
Yep.
And that was a whole game. And when I figured out what was going on, and then I got very, very sick again. I had a lot of female issues through my life, and I got very, very sick. I had been to the hospital, bleeding profusely, losing a lot of blood. And my parents were at the house trying to take care of me, and I was so weak I couldn't even get to the bathroom on my own. He left me to supposedly go to Atlanta to see his child because she had moved down there with her work. He left me supposedly to go down there. That's not where he went. He never went there, never showed up, none of that. Things like that. And my dad was always pretty cool about things, and he tried his best to mind his business and things like that. But that was the one night on the phone, I heard my dad call him everything but a child of God.
Yeah.
And my dad was a Marine.
I love
and he told him point blank, he said, when you come back, I got a little something for you.
Yeah. I can tell that's why you're so strong, being the daughter of a military.
Very much so. I was raised by a Marine, and we're a whole different breed. So
I love it. Love that about you. I love the fact that you made this plan. I told Lori that the other day. And you have to make sure you have a little nest egg put away so you can pay your bills and get on top of things and almost come back from the debt that they almost put you in, right? And all the drama.
Yeah, well, and my daughter, I also wanted to wait because at this time she's grown up. She's through high school. Her and my son-in-law were in the Disney College program in Orlando. And when I pulled the trigger, I wanted to make sure that they were out of town. I did not want anything to happen while they were in town because I knew that if he got stupid, because he tried to get stupid one time with my child. We went on a little fishing trip, and he said something smart to her, and she smarted back off to him because she is my child, and she's not going to take it. And she smarted off, and he started to act like he was going to slap her in the face.
No.
And I come out the car, and we took care of that real quick.
Okay.
But so I wanted to make sure that he didn't get stupid. So I wanted to make sure that she was away, safe, and all of that before I pulled the trigger.
Okay.
On the relationship.
That's when you basically tell him this isn't even a marriage anymore. This needs to be done. And what happens thereafter? Does he kind of just go along with it and agree? Does he freak out? Does he also try to steal money from the marriage and hide stuff?
No, he couldn't do that because there was no account in his name. I had already taken care of that way back. He would get smart-mouthed, There was a little bit of name calling, but because I even told him, I said, look, we can do this the nice way. I said, if we need to live together as roommates or whatever until we can both get ourselves settled, get on our feet, I'm cool with that.
Right.
And his response, I'm not having you bring some other man into this house in front of me. I said, first off, I'm not a whore. Second off, I said, I'm not going to be that disrespectful. I said, you would pull something like that, but I'm not going to be disrespectful like that.
Right.
I had caught him on the computer talking to other women on the computer. Now, if anything happened while we were married, I don't know. I never could prove that, but I could prove conversations with other women that were inappropriate. And then the last time I saw him, I went into surgery. I was going into surgery. He came to the hospital and asked to see me. And my parents weren't going to let him see me. And I said, no, go ahead and let him back. I'm curious to what kind of BS he wants to spill. Let him back. So he came back and he's like, oh, I hope everything goes okay, blah, blah, blah. I hope you're okay, blah, blah, blah. He left at that point, and that's when he went to Chattanooga, because he had already lined somebody else to go. Because see, that was the thing with him. See, he didn't leave me. I kicked him out. Most everybody, he gets a nest made before he leaves the nest he's in.
Yep.
He's not going to leave his little nest until he's got something set up to where he's covered. But he had a woman already waiting in the wings in Chattanooga, and so he ended up in Chattanooga, and to my knowledge, he's kind of been bouncing around that Chattanooga, Georgia area, all these years after us.
Melissa would continue on in her life thereafter, Richard Ruland free. Well, that is until she received a phone call from Richard's great niece, Danielle. Thankfully, Danielle and her father had figured out the type of person Richard really was a while back and knew to keep their distance from him, family or not. During the phone call, Danielle explains what had just gone down between her great uncle Richard and his current wife, Lori. With permission by both women, Danielle then gives both Melissa and Lori each other's contact information. And that call would ignite a friendship between the two women, as well as launch the many TikTok posts surrounding their ex-husband, Richard Ruland. You're just going on about doing your business, and all of a sudden, do you get a text message or a phone call from Danielle?
I actually was, I had just started my contract up here in North Carolina. And I was sitting in my room one night, and my phone went off, and it was a message on Messenger. And it was Danielle, and she was saying hi and everything. And she and I have talked in between, some as well. But she sent me this message, asked me, was it okay if she gave out my number and put me in contact with Lori? She told me, because I had seen every now and then something would pop up on my Facebook, and, they looked happy and everything. And I thought, oh, bless your heart. I kept thinking maybe he'll act right now. Who knows? He's getting older, maybe. And everything I had seen, they looked happy. And so when she sent me that message, I thought, oh, here we go again, poor girl, And I said, yep. I said, you can give her my information, whatever. I said, I don't care. You can tell her, contact me. I don't mind, So it was basically that simple. And then Lori reached out and contacted me and kind of told me some of the things that she had been going through.
Lori calls you. Do you guys immediately hit it off? Is it just like, he did this, me too?
Yeah, she started, it really wasn't awkward. I think I can't speak for her. I think she might have been a little bit embarrassed, a little bit shy.
Okay.
But no, we hit it off perfectly. And I told her, I said, look, you can ask me anything you want to ask me.
Yeah, you both are such straight shooters, so,
Now, it sounds like, as far as the violence, it sounds like he escalated a little bit with her.
Okay.
But the difference with me is he knew better.
Yeah.
He tried one time, and you'll see one of my TikToks that says that.
Mm-hmm.
He tried one time to draw his fist back on me, and he got backed into a corner like the bitch he was.
Do you remember why that escalated in that fight between the two of you?
I called him out on a lie.
Okay. Just got defensive.
I called him out on a lie, and he spun around and drew back his fist, and I told him, I said, you better make it count.
Oh my goodness.
I said, you better hope to God I don't get up. And then he said something else smart, and when he did, I'm just going to say I'm the daughter of a Marine, and I've been trained in hand-to-hand, and I've also been trained that I don't go anywhere without a weapon.
Right, yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say about that. She was talking, and I told her, I said, look, if you got questions, ask them. I don't care what you ask me. I said, I'm an open book where that's concerned.
By the end of that phone call, you'd found out what he had done. You're pissed. Why did you decide to get involved to kind of help dig?
I put him out of my life a long, long time ago. I moved on. My only regret that I was stupid. It took me a long time to get over the fact that I allowed myself to be stupid. It took me a long time to get past that. Because, I know with your situation, I know enough to know that, you feel like, how could I have been so stupid? I'm an intelligent person.
Yes.
But they played the game well. And, I knew he had moved on to the other girl. I found out some things that he had said and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think when I talked to Lori, it was like, somebody's got to stop him. We've got to stop this, because he just continues wreaking havoc on women's lives. And that's not fair. I mean, we need to put out there exactly what he is, because like I said, he plays that game well. Now, it's a little harder for him to play now due to his physical condition and his physical health and the fact that he ain't got a tooth left in his freaking head. But, that's not exactly going to attract a lot of people.
Truth.
But he plays the game well.
Yeah.
And
he knows what he's doing.
He also knows how to make himself vulnerable. And that vulnerability can be attractive to someone who knows what it feels like to be hurt and have been vulnerable as well. And so they feel like they found a kindred spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to get the truth out there so that people aren't falling for that BS. Because he works it well. He works it well. I mean, he's got people, apparently he's staying with people right now that know exactly what he is, but refuse to believe it.
I know it.
Melissa and I continue to do some digging, and we find some more ex-wives. We were using the Truth Finder report, doing lots of research, finding people. I still think I may be number 8 or 9, but that count could be low.
Next, I talked to Melissa, trying to understand the total number of ex-wives and also trying to figure out in which order they all came in, especially because there were girlfriends in the mix as well as a fiance. So you knew about Kelly, obviously the mother of his daughter. Were you aware of any other wives prior to Kelly?
Not at that time. I knew there was supposedly had been a serious girlfriend in New York before Kelly. And then there was Kelly. And then I did not know about the young lady, Christy. I did not know about Christy in between Kelly and I. I had no clue about her. No clue whatsoever. I literally just found out she was a wife when we were investigating for all of this. I had no clue.
So you never ever knew about Christy until recently?
No. I just found out about Christy.
And she was before you?
Yes. She was the one in between. She was the one in between Kelly and I. Okay. And they were only married, I think, like 6 months. And come to find out, when I was helping him move out of the apartment that he was in, when he moved out of that apartment and was coming to move in with me, that had been their apartment. That had been where they lived when they were married.
So shady.
And she had been put on, she got, apparently she would have to tell you her story, but all I know about it was apparently he knew that she was going to leave him because he basically told her to choose between him and her children. And so he went ahead and, I guess, bought her a bus ticket because he knew she was going to choose her children. And so she left, I guess, and went back home to where, I can't even remember now where it was that she was from. And then, but yeah, they were married like 6 months, and that was in between Kelly and I. And I literally had no clue until all of this started coming out.
Wow. Okay. So at this point, right now, do we believe that Kelly is wife number 1, or do we think she's number 2?
We think, for everything that we can prove, to my knowledge,
correct.
For everything that we can prove, we think she's actual wife number 1.
Okay. Then Christy.
And then that would make me wife number 3. But I never could
but
prove
we can't prove it. Okay.
Yeah. So I couldn't say for sure. So right now with the proof that we have, I'm number 3. The woman that he had lined up when he left and went to Chattanooga was not Billy Joe, I don't think. I don't know if that's what I'm saying. I don't know if he married the girl that was after me. Okay. But then I knew when he ended up with Billy Joe. Okay. I knew they got married. They were all over Facebook. His family had also told me about Billy Joe because they met her and all that.
Okay.
She had children that they're going by his last name still to this day. God love them. And her children were small. They were very young, I think, when he came into the picture. Now, after her, I don't know who all in between there other than the lady named Delbra.
So he was engaged, and then he had the girlfriend that he was also simultaneously, they overlapped.
Right, yeah, with Delbra and Trudy.
And then Lori would be the next.
Yeah, neither
That's
one.
what we know so far.
Delbra or Trudy, neither one never did marry him. But now he was engaged to Delbra. There was a big thing on Facebook about that. He was engaged to her. And then after that, to my knowledge, Lori was the next one.
Okay.
I don't know what happened completely in between me and Billy Joe.
Okay.
And I don't know what happened everything between Billy Joe and Lori. As far, you know what I mean? As far as if there were any other marriages, I don't know. I can't find anything to prove it.
Okay. Lori and Melissa, you two coming together are a hoot. You two are so flippin' funny. You play off each other, but you're different. But then you've got your similarities. It's kind of like Amber and I in a different way.
It's kind of
so
like
freaking funny. Oh, I totally got A-Team vibes. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, the TikTok videos, you know, we'll get into Melissa, like her poems that she writes.
Yes.
Kill me. Freaking funny. My favorite one. Yeah. The one of like where she talks about him like sitting on the couch. She felt like bad for the couch. I don't know. She goes on this rant
and sleeping on the couch. Yes.
Oh my
God. The poor couch. Yes.
The poem is called Ode to Ricky Hall. So, I hope you like it. Somewhere in Georgia, a couch cries out in pain because lying upon it is a greasy shit stain. Pizza boxes piled in their Domino's glow, while your disgusting ass continues to grow. Your family doesn't want you. You make them quite sick. The fact that I married you still gives me a tick. I let sleeping dogs lie because there were those to protect. But welcome to your new disrespect. You claim to have powers and conjure lots of ghosts, but you conjured me, bitch, and I'm the ghost with the most. You play your games and continue your lies, but I bet you weren't ready for this little surprise.
Now, for those who may not ever see this actual TikTok video, Melissa does end it with a nice middle finger at the very end. Probably one of my favorite parts. Next time on Ex-Wives Undercover.
As my videos are going out, you know, different people like Trudy see it and comment. JB sees it and comments.
I had known about the different women. As the time goes by and you think about it and you go, that is the biggest crock of trash I've ever heard. To see what he had done to her in 18 months was just so devastating, you know? And so I reached out.
Oh, I received this today. It was an email where he's officially telling you to cease and desist and
shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Right.
Which you don't. That's when he warns you.
He said, I'm not stalking you, but I've downloaded all your videos. You're going to make me be a really bad guy.
Can't get enough of Ex-Wives Undercover? If so, make sure to subscribe to our show so that you don't miss any of our exclusive subscriber-only podcast episodes. You can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok, as well as join our true crime community on our private Facebook page. And for those who rather watch the episodes, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. For more information, simply click the link found in each episode's show notes.